Today we're going to talk a little bit about edema, and the first part we want to talk about edema is when we see a patient with very swollen hands. Then of course we have to in some way assess this. And obviously we're here in our clinic simulating treatment, and usually we would work with paper underneath it, but just for photographic purposes we're leaving that off. So Birgit has a very swollen right hand, and I want to evaluate how swollen it is and keep track of that so that I can compare from time to time if my treatment is effective. So one thing I do is keep track of that in a table. And because it's her whole arm, I'm going to use a tape measure, and I'm going to use her third finger as my fixed anatomical point. And I'm going to ask Birgit to help me a little bit here. And I think it would be very good if I could measure around her PIP joint. So I'm going to choose 3 centimeters, and I'll keep track here, 3. And I'm measuring from the bottom of her nail, just the edge of the nail here. And then I want to keep track around here, so I'm going to choose 6 again, and I'm going to note that. And I'd probably like to get it around the MCP, so I'll choose 9 here, and I'll make a mark. And then as I go along, probably quite helpful to me would be around 17. And I think 23 would be pretty helpful. And maybe 28. And let's see if we can't get up here around 35. Okay, so basically her swelling is in the forearm. If she had a problem all the way up, I would continue up the arm. Now, I've marked these points, and of course it's important to ask your patients, and I'm always going to measure underneath them. It doesn't matter if you measure above or below, but you do have to keep track of what you've done, not one up and one down. So I've got my first one, and I'm simply taking the measuring tape and I'm going around, and I'm measuring the amount of swelling that we have here, and I would measure here 6.5 centimeters, and I'm keeping track of that. And I'm coming down here, and I'm measuring again, and I have 6.8, and I'm coming right here, I'm measuring around again, making sure that we've covered our palmar arch there, and I come in at 19.6. I'm coming here, and I'm always measuring slightly below these little points. You want to make sure your measuring tape never gets twisted. So we have 16.5. And here, and you don't want to do this tight. The measuring tape just lays slightly on there. 19.4. $22.5. And I measured at 34. She's very helpful, my patient. I'd say 26.6. I'm just going to show you real quick how this looks. You're keeping track, and now you see there are other spaces for me to measure the next time. Obviously our form is in German, but the content would be the same in any language. They're just circumferential measurements.